With the commish, Nate.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome into some Press Pass Live on a Friday. Got my buddy Maniac. He's over there. I keep pointing over there because for me, he's over there, but for y'all, he's over there. Maniac, how you doing today, bud? Oh, no. I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? Did you mute yourself? Oh, no. Why? Oh, I know why. Hold on one second. Now you're with us.
Hey.
You see, I had this little button. So when I press a button to go to this scene, it turns all the volume up except for the browser. And you're on the browser right now, so it didn't turn you up. And so that was totally my fault. How you doing on a Friday, buddy?
I'm doing great, man.
Well, I'm glad that you're with me, hanging out. You and I talked about this last night, sort of. I was in a game that got no-showed, and you were like, "Talk about Madden 26," and I was like, "I don't have anything yet. I've watched videos, but I need to go do some homework." So I was glad that you had some opportunity. Let's start with college football, then we'll go Madden. Then we're going to go Maximum. All the details are down in the description. So if you want one of the blogs for Madden for college football or the announcement trailer for Maximum football, they're all down in the Discord or down in the description, as well as our Discord. Mr. Maniac is a college football guy. That's what got him going here, and that's what his bread and butter, and it was taken away for 10 years. So he loved us and came and became a Madden guy with us. And so now we share him back with college football, which is the Deuce. If you're looking for a college football dynasty that is ran by the best, by a guy that was a game changer, that knows this game inside and out, then you need to come check us out. Our Discord details are down in the description. Maniac, I'm going to you first. Get us started. What do we talk about first? What's our first bullet point? I got a whole list. Look, I went and made notes and everything. What are we talking about with college football, buddy?
Man, I was looking at some of the features that was listed today on the EA website, and I mean, there's a lot to be excited about. I know, we've had that same old thing where we, kind of raise an eyebrow. It's EA, they've promised so many things and not delivered on a lot of things. But the more I read through all this stuff, I was kind of like, man, they did listen a lot, or at least they're putting a lot of effort in. And I know it's the second game from being not around for like 10 years. So just probably looking at the first thing though is like, I think just true to college football gameplay. The programs that that they initiated, bringing all that into this last game, but now they're going to take that a little bit further. And I like the fact that they're looking at the offensive and defensive mechanics of the game. They're talking about stunts for the defensive line, substitutions when it counts. And I know one of the things that I hated about 25 was like the substitutions never seemed to work right. The wear and tear never seemed to work right. If it did work, it worked totally opposite to the end, and then it wouldn't work. And it was just like a kind of a a whole bag of stuff that just would kind of get old after a while. But and then they're talking about just along the lines of the college football gameplay. 2,700 new plays are added to the game. I mean, you think about it. You know, we can make a custom playbook of 500 plays, and they're adding basically five to 5.5 full uh, plays of playbooks to the game. That's pretty impressive. Um, so I don't know. That's kind of where I kind of gravitate to the true college football play. I do like the stadium stuff. One thing I have raised an eyebrow at is uh, the stadium uh, enhancements to the crowd noise and stuff, and they're talking like it's going to be more
Yeah.
than what it is right now. So I'm not sure about that because I know it was like really effective this last game. So if they added to that, man, we're going to talk like it's gonna be tough. You know, if you're the road team.
Yeah, the game was beautiful, and so I didn't get caught up in any of that stuff. Last year's game was beautiful. The immersion was there. I understand that some of the cutscenes were repetitive, but overall, I think the immersion was there. It's what college football has always done exceptionally well. So I didn't get sort of bogged down in a lot of that stuff, but I will say I personally stand behind now. I didn't hang out because I just couldn't keep up. But this year, I'm gonna try to go back to the Deuce if he has a spot for me. But couldn't keep up. The games are too much, too fast. So I went back to the more lackadaisical one, and it was super fast too. It was just like, all right, I just can't keep up in all these leagues. But one of the most unenjoyable CPU games ever. Madden is a little skewed because we're always 32. We very rarely have a CPU game. Whereas college football, there's no way. You're always going to have to play the CPU, and I just didn't enjoy it. But here's something I did enjoy, and it was my first talking point, and it's what we got on the screen here. Wear and Tear 2.0. They're not calling it Wear and Tear 2.0. They're calling it Wear and Tear everywhere. But we know whenever EA implements something new, and this is something pretty new, it's usually a bit of a miss the first year, but then take some pretty radical steps forward the second year and maybe the third year, but usually we see the biggest jump year 1 to year 2. I'm excited about Wear and Tear 2.0. I think it was really good last year, maybe a bit strong, like your quarterback would take a hit. It was like -10 throwing power. You're like, -10, holy cow, I got to get this guy out of the game. But I think if they can adjust that, we'll talk about when we get to Madden. It's going over to Madden as well. I'm interested to see how well it works. I'm interested to see, like, to me, a -10 throwing power for a quarterback, that's like red wear and tear. That's like an injured player, but he was like always yellow, but -10, -5 speed. I'm like, oh my God, these are like major attributes. These aren't like, oh, I'm hurting a little bit. These are like major things, major injuries. I'm interested to see how it plays in this new one, especially around you don't have to pause and go figure it out. It's like supposedly the UI will be much easier to understand, quicker to make some moves, but Wear and Tear 2.0 is something that caught my eye.
Yeah, with the old wear and tear of college football 25, like you said, it was so dynamic that it was over dynamic because your quarterback, you know, if he got sacked, you know, or hit 2 times in a row, then all of a sudden, like, his speed dropped, you know, -13, and throwing power dropped, you know, 15 or 10, you know, something like that, and it was like you were playing with a totally different quarterback, and I think, you know, if they make it a little bit more not so aggressive in the regression. Uh, just after a couple hits. Now, if your quarterback has gotten sacked, you know, 10 times over the course of the game, probably by the end of the game, yeah, his throw power is probably not. So, you know, if they revamped that to where it's not just so dramatic, like right after just the first start, and then you're trying to battle. My thing was, like, you put in the quarterback, that happens. You put in your backup, it happens to him, and then you're on the third string, and, you know, basically, your game is already, especially if you're playing a tough opponent, either CPU or human. You're behind the A bar like right away, and and it really truly, like, if athletes or anything like athletes that we see and watch on television, after a couple hits, more than likely they're not going to be that winded, or that's going to be bothering them as much. But if they've been susceptible to that over time in the game, then yeah, by the end of the game, they're probably hurting, and it could affect possibly the start for the next game. But we'll see how they've implemented this, and I really hope they've done it well, because when they first announced that they were going to do that last game, I was like, oh, wow, finally we're going to get some realistic type of wear and tear on your players and stuff. And it seemed like the sliders, you try to adjust it a little bit, and it was just like it was one way, it never, then it killed it off, and it never happened, and the other way just a little bit more, and then you're just like, just dealing with like guys dropping like flies. So
Yeah, hopefully they've adjusted that a bit more, because I think you and I, we've had our fair share of hours messing with sliders and finding where the tipping point was both ways, and sometimes that can be a really, really fine line. Physics tackling coming over from Madden. I think that what they call it. I already forgot the dumb marketing name they put on it. What was the thing called in Madden? They called it Boomstick.
Boomstick.
Oh my God, what a dumb name. But anyway, Boomstick, called AKA physics based tackling, making its way over to college football. I'm excited about that. The game was already very fast. I felt like it was a more arcadey style game. College football is always a little bit more arcadey. I'm hoping the physics-based tackling takes some of the edge off of the sort of arcadiness of it. I don't say that being good or bad. I just think it felt less sim and more sort of like we're in an arcade. We put in a quarter and we're just playing a really fun game. So I'm hoping that takes a little bit of that edge off. We'll see how it's implemented. Again, it was the first year in Madden last year, so hopefully 2.0 of that will be better. New tackling animations, new fluidity. We'll see how that all interacts. But we're going to have some new abilities, some new things that are coming into it. At the line of scrimmage, you can call different plays, different hot routes, different zones. I know that's something we'll talk more about in Madden, but we'll see how physics-based tackling works in college football.
Yeah, I know, like, one of the problems with college football, playing in a couple of different dynasties that I was playing in and stuff. One of the issues was the tackling. You would be controlling uh, linebacker, safety, whatever. And it seemed like it was especially really more prevalent with quarterback scrambling. Uh, it was almost like they had like a little bubble around them that you couldn't touch them, and so even if it was CPU, they seem to scramble a lot with the quarterbacks that are have the scrambling ability, and you would get what you thought would be lined up for a tackle, and they're just like whoop, they're right around you,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, he didn't even make it an effort to tackle him, he just went right past you. Um, so if they've really implemented that, I know the boomstick thing, again, like you said, it's like the most stupidest uh, con name that they put out there for that, um, but it did work pretty well in Madden. It still had its issues as well, so hopefully they retool that, retweak that for both games. But far as college football goes, for the tackling part, anything is better than what they had in 25 for the tackling.
There's also a weird thing that what I found that happened in DBs. I even heard it mentioned in one of either Good Game Bros videos or one of these other videos around DBs. And you would think of, like, again, if you watched any of my college football streams, it was like the wide receiver is very clearly open. He's 5-6 yards in front of the DB, and you're throwing it out there, and somehow the DB would rocket catch up and rocket jump and get an interception. You're like, how? Like, how is that? Unless you're a Hall of Famer, like, how did you make that play? Hopefully that stuff will be cleaned up a bit better. I'm really just focusing on Dynasty. That's what we are here. Dynasty CFM, guys. There's a ton of other information here in the blog if you play some of these other modes. I might dabble. I don't know. We'll see time. It's like I might dabble on Road to the Glory, but it's like, man, I'm in CFM. I'm in Madden leagues. I'm doing shooters. Like there's only so much you can come and actually do. But crossplay Maniac, it is in College Football 26. I wasn't fully sure. Well, it's right here in front of us. So let's read it. So Xbox X and PlayStation 5. So no PC. That was the big question I had. Would they allow PC like Madden does? I don't think this game is made for PC. Am I wrong about that?
You're correct.
Yeah.
As far as I remember, I don't think they ever made it for PC. So,
well, we'll have crossplay, which does open up the doors for possibility of more owners. You're basically doubling the amount of people that can play in your dynasty. You ran a dynasty for a full cycle for the first time in 10 years. So is this something to get excited about? Or is this sort of like, meh, just keep moving?
No, it is. Because again, like you said, it grows the coach pool, and I've played on both consoles in the past. Probably before I came here, I was more along the Xbox 360. Played a lot of hockey and college football over there on the 360. I've always played Madden, but those were the two games I gravitated to more. But then college football shut down. I came over here and got a PlayStation, and I really enjoy the PlayStation now more than I ever enjoyed the Xbox. So, but that opens up a total different new pool of players that we've had a very unique style of gameplay here at Grown Folks, and of course we've talked about that. Some things may have to change a little bit. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping we're still able to play the way we are, but the overall structure of the community and the leagues that are here are by far like some of the best that I've ever been a part of. And so that opens up for these guys from the Xbox side to come over and actually enjoy that and not just be spectators from the outside, because we've had so many ask, and you've had people, I've seen guys ask from your streams and stuff, is this for Xbox? And so I know that this will help definitely grow the community, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well, and I think it's going to be really good. Mr. Maniac mentioned NHL there. He's got a big NHL group growing over there. So if you're into NHL, come check it out. He's twisting my arm trying to buy it, but I'm like, there's so many games, and I know these fools. I'm going to buy the game, and 2 weeks later, no one's going to play it because the new Madden will be out, the new NCAA will be out, the new this will be out, the new that will be out, and then I've just wasted $35 on a brand new game. But anyway, there was a small line here that caught my attention. I felt like in College Football 25, transfer portal felt less impactful. Now, majority of that experience was from small school colleges. So in the OMFL College League, we were building small school teams in 2 stars and less. So you're going to have the experience of playing with really high-end teams, but I never found the transfer portal to be impactful on a dynasty, having those the major quarterback who left, or the major wide receiver, or the major running back who shows up in a new team and completely takes over and changes everything. They caught my attention with what they are saying is an expanded and more unpredictable transfer portal with thousands of players each year. Again, I don't know if there were thousands last year. It didn't seem like it. There was only about 5 or 6 ever interested in my teams. Yeah. But expanded transfers, that's something that you think is going to be a good thing for the dynasties?
Yeah, that was one of the things I really didn't, like you talked about, I didn't really like, because it seemed like the very first season we had a good, decent amount of pool of players that were transfers. But I really wanted to see that, what is the reason in real life that guys transfer? One is because they're getting better NIL deals to move to a different school. Coach, they didn't jive with a coach. And I know all those things are kind of incorporated in the game, but it just didn't seem like it was dynamic enough. Like one of the examples I'm thinking of, okay, you got on your roster 4 quarterbacks that are 80 or above, and what are you doing? Most of these guys are either sophomores or juniors, lower classmen, but they're really good and ready to step into action. Um, you wouldn't lose any of those guys. Um, so they were just all stuck on your depth, and if you dropped them, they went into the pool. Whatever happened to them happened to them, but they weren't leaving on their own. And then you're out recruiting another 5-star quarterback that all of a sudden is better. Once you get him in, and that's fine. That happens, but those guys never like said, "Oh, hey, now all of a sudden I was third on depth, now I'm fourth. I'm never going to see the light of day on this team." And they've got immense talent, and so they would never enter the transfer portal, and just you're loaded with 4 or 5 quarterbacks, whatever you wanted, and it just wasn't a legit thing that you would really see. Most programs you see, they have you know maybe 4 quarterbacks, but there's a tier progression to that. Either got the young guy, the freshman coming in that has a lot of potential, but he needs a lot of work, and he understands that. Whereas you got the junior, he's ready to take the reins. He's been there in the program, and then you got the couple guys in the middle that one understands I'm going to be a backup, but there's always going to be that one guy that hey, Oregon's offering me money to come over here and be their starting quarterback. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that is implemented. I'm hopeful that they're implementing that better, and it sounds hopeful because I think as we see now that the transfer portal is a huge factor in college
Yeah.
football nowadays.
Yeah, it's massive, right? It is a game changer for some of these teams. And so um, there's always that fine line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Injuries, game changer. You turn injuries up too much, and I'm telling you, 32 grown men crying about injuries, it will make you second guess a lot of your life choices. And so it's like there's a fine line there between realism and the real effects of a dynasty and game and enjoyability and all that stuff. So let's hopefully they can find that fine line and find that good balance there. Last one for me, it was around a little line here that you see right in the middle, talking about new location-based visits having the potential to give your program an advantage in recruiting. What does that mean? I'm assuming it means in home visits, on school visit, on campus visits. Is there like a third option? You see a lot of these big teams holding these recruiting weekends. I know they call it Bayou Splash here at LSU, where they bring all these kids down and throw them in this like really big pool and just basically party for an entire weekend. So like, what are the locations going to be? How do you have to use them? I did find with recruiting that it was deep. And at first, when I first got my hands on it, it felt a little too deep. It was like, man, this can't be a full-time job for me, and that's why I sucked at it when I was in the Deuce. But then as we all learned it, it felt pretty repetitive. It's like, okay, you create your system of what you want to do and just kind of rinse and repeat every year. And it, like a lot of things in these games, it loses its value. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? The replayability of those functions and those features. So I'm interested to see how can they make that have more replayability, have me wanting to come back, have me wanting to check my board, have me wanting to check on new things or this. How do they keep me coming back to that? I'd love to hear your thoughts about recruiting. The location-based at least piqued my interest.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if it's tied into as you see the list of the thing they list right above that, dynamic deal breakers, and I don't know if that's like some of the things that would again cause like a recruit not to want to come. If you're loaded at quarterback and you're pursuing them, they're all like, look, you got 5 quarterbacks already in your roster. I'm not interested. And but it always seemed like, if you kept coming after them or whatever, they changed their mind. And it seemed like that was a little bit too easy to happen. Now this location based visit, I'm also wondering if this is like, uh, is it something that we're, say for instance, like me playing as Texas, and I'm pursuing a guy that his top thing is location close to home, and he's in Florida. Um, but a lot of guys would still pursue those guys and persuade them to come, to Texas. And I'm kind of wondering if that also doesn't imply as like location based visits. Do those impact your target decisions? So, uh, is that going to mean that those players that want location as their top thing are going to be really difficult
Mm,
to try to get targeted? Because
good point.
if that does impact your targeting, uh, because like you've got a less than 10% chance of talking this guy into coming to your program, then is that going to sway you from actually putting in the effort to get that guy? So that could be, and it could be a total of all the things we talked about. It could be uh, things that you set up for your school to bring in guys, and it could also imply that as well for as guys really looking at the location as being their main factor, and is that going to impact you on your decision to actually target them for recruitment?
What else? What else you got about the dynasty for college football 26? I'm also, I don't know what word I am for this. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know why I'm sitting here chasing words, but like, man, news is coming out really late. I feel like this game drops in like 30 days or whatever it is, and we basically have a trailer with a little bit of news. It's very interesting, and I think this is the difficulty of dropping yearly games year after year after year after year. It's like you don't have time to pull this out like you could before. Whereas last year, it's like it was their first game, they had 3.5 years or whatever to get ready for it. So anything else for the dynasty for college football 26?
Um, I am kind of curious with now that they're having 300 plus real world coaches implemented into the game. I don't know how that's going to correlate with like dynasties, because again, like we talked about, you can only have 32 guys manning a dynasty. So obviously, if I'm taking Texas, since he's taking Ohio State, you take LSU, those big name coaches are going to drop out. Are they going to go to smaller programs that are not?
Mm.
So I wonder how that's going to affect, or are they just going to disappear? Like into thin air, or go to the NFL as coaches. So I'm kind of wondering how that's going to go about, because it seems like they put in a lot of effort to put real coaches into this game. And then you're going to have obviously 300 coaches. You're going to have real uh, assistant coaches in the game. So it's not just going to be head coaches. So as once you fire that coach, is his assistant's going to go with him, or are you going to have to rehire?
You just said
Uh,
something I didn't even think about, like losing your. We do custom coaches, at least we have in the past, but like if you weren't doing custom coaches, could you lose your coach to the NFL like you do your players? I never even thought about that.
mhm. Yeah, and again, I don't know how dynamic they have this built in, but it does seem like that's one of their top features that they kind of put out there, the headlines, and so I have a feeling like they probably have something pretty unique built in with that. With obviously playbooks. We talked about the plays being added, since there's a lot more coaches, or the coaches are actually involved in it. They're bringing their true playbooks over, possibly into the game, more than what we've seen in the past. Because sometimes it feels like you see one play and it's in every playbook, or
Yeah.
it's this one off off play that's not even in a playbook at all, and But is there actually going to be real, true schemes that are brought about from these coaches in the game? And so I'm kind of looking forward to doing that and looking into that. That might be something where we actually look at just allowing guys to keep the real coach. I don't know how much of progression each coach has. Maybe they have a setting where you can kind of put like every coach starts off at point A, and everybody has to work their way up that way, like as in creative coaches or. Uh, so there's a lot of things I think that's kind of stuck there we don't know about yet that I'm really truly looking forward to kind of digging into that part as well.
Yeah, the other game modes, again, maybe piques my interest. Road to glory. I know for me, downtime between leagues, that kind of stuff, this was always a fun one to sort of dabble in. College football, ultimate team, road to the college football playoff, team builder, all these things are right there for you to go and to play around with. So, Mr. Maniac, give me just your overall thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams for College Football 26.
My hope is that they've truly like done what they're saying here. They've really listened to the community, and it's not just a certain part of the community, but they've actually listened to all the community, like those that are big in the dynasty. We all know that the Ultimate Team crowd has a pretty big voice in these games and stuff. So I'm hoping that they really kind of like delve deep into dynasty with what they're putting out here. Again, like I said, the features that they've listed does give me hope, and I'm really my meter is getting on the side of being more excited about the game. I know College Football 25 kind of crushed my dreams because there was a lot of bugs and stuff, like even like scheduling and stuff, trying to set up that stuff. And again, like until the very end, we had the settings glitch where one guy would be on freshman, the other guy would be on uh, Heisman or All American, and it was just a nightmare. Uh, and I don't know if it was just something we did with our league that caused that or whatever, but that was just a headache. And so I'm hoping that all those things are properly done and they're implemented correctly, and we're able to jump in when the game comes out. We get a feel for it, and we're able just to really enjoy, a good 5 to 6 seasons. And my hope is when that time comes, like we start talking about the next game, we're enjoying this game so much. Like, you know what, this game has been so good. I'm ready for the next game also, but this game has been tremendously pleasant to play, and just had a ton of fun with it.
I don't know why my computer's having a meltdown all of a sudden, but hopefully it will clean itself up. This happens sometimes when we do video. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes it gives me a hard time. Let's talk about Madden 26. Quite a lot of news dropping here recently. If you follow, oh my goodness, I just drew a complete blank. Is it Kirk Ben, oh man, I'm messing up his name. Anyway, ex-Dolphins, Green Bay, Packer, quarterback, Kurt Ben Kirkland or something. I'm totally butchering his name, and I apologize.
I think of it now. I mean, I see the guy's face.
Yeah, me too. He's all over the place. He's really blown up in the last, I'd say, year or two. But on his YouTube, on his Twitter, he is talking this game up a lot and says he's got no reason to. All it does is hurt his reputation if they don't deliver. But he has touched this game. He knows what it feels like, and it is launching August the 14th. So I've got quite the list here. The first one I want to get going is college football player movements coming over to Madden 26. So player movement 2.0, if that has changed and been adjusted, is coming over here to Madden. And I think we're all going to like that. They're saying down here when we get to foundational football, players who run 4.2s will feel like players who run 4.2s. And that's difficult. That is a very difficult thing to achieve and to make happen. they're saying that they're moving it over. If you played the college game, it played a lot quicker and faster. I'm hoping they slow it down just a hair, and maybe the new physics-based tackling will do that. They're moving that over to Madden football for 26, and I think that's a good thing. It should feel like a good thing. I'm interested to see. They talk about linear speed, just like fast guys, the Tariq Hills, over sort of that lateral explosive speed. So think speed, acceleration, change of direction. How do they differentiate those three? How do they make those three feel different? I think that's my biggest complaint about Madden is if your guy's 89 speed, he's pretty useless, right? He's
Yeah.
just not. How can you make those maybe slower guys who are quick, twitchy feel useful, and you can scheme and you can put them into a system that works? But player movement 2.0 is my first biggest kind of note.
Yeah. Looking at that, from the college football standpoint, uh, and now they're transitioning that to Madden. It definitely felt like the player movements and especially on offense. Now, again, like I said, defense kind of struggled with the tackling mechanics and stuff, and it sounds like
Yeah.
they addressed that.
It was not awesome.
Yeah. But the player movements for the offensive side was definitely more smooth, and like you said, it was a little fast. It was a little fast because it was like zip zip zip. You could get in and out of the line really quick, and what the struggles on defense it made it even more effective. Getting loose from tackles and different things. But uh, I'm like you. That's one of the biggest things I think the football games have struggled with is making all players really matter
Yeah.
uh, in the game. And you
If,
always like it. It
if
always
you have an
gravitated.
89 speed cornerback, yeah, might as well cut him. He's useless.
Yeah, you're cutting him, or you're looking and hoping that you can move him to
Yeah,
safety.
yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times you couldn't, because they're as weak as a wash rag, or whatever, so that they're not going to pan out there very good. So, but if they can implement that to where, like you say, like an 88 speed uh, wide receiver that has tremendous jumping ability, uh, big body that can get open, and kind of grind the chains down the field, be a red zone weapon. Uh, you know, make it to where if he's on my team, you know what, I cut him, and Nate's going to pick him up and probably make him an all pro, because, that's just, your style. Your style is, you get big wide receivers. We've seen it in the NFL. Some teams prefer the big wide receivers. They'll have a combination of big and small wide receivers for different packages, but they all are a part of that team, and they're actually productive. Whereas in Madden, unless you got a wide receiver that, to me, like I think the cutoff speed almost for wide receiver is like 93. If you're below
Yeah.
that, you're almost kind
You're
of
right.
like dead in the water. Especially if you're playing some of these guys like we've got that have the DBs they have, um, and so what you would look at as a matchup is a small cornerback that's fast. My big, strong wide
Yep.
receiver should be able to get off the line of scrimmage, even if it's only, even if he's only getting 10 or 15 yard routes, but he's getting open because he's so massive, so strong, and able to get
Or
open.
vice versa, right? Like a big, strong cornerback, that little fast receiver, they can't get off the jam. They can't get away from him.
Absolutely, and so there's I think then that brings in a new aspect of the game, the chess match. Okay, if this guy's got this big cornerback on this one side and he's got a smaller slot corner, well, I need to make sure my smaller fast guy is on in the slot against the shorter faster guy because he matches up better against him. Or you can take that again, like if your smaller guy gets on the bigger cornerback, and he doesn't play press, or whatever his he decides to play a cover three or whatever, and he's off the line of scrimmage. Well, now that part should play into your hand because my little guy can actually get around and get open and make some things happen in the field as well. So again, it brings more of the chess match where you kind of think things through, and try to play different aspects of the game. Whereas like now, it's like I got to have that 90 plus speed wide receiver, or else I'm not going to succeed. And it just brings a bigger dynamic, I think, to the football game.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of lumped a couple of things together, mainly because I don't know how they will or won't affect CFM, especially the way that we approach a CFM. We make everybody start with a brand new coach because coaches are so different. It feels like the game already is tough enough to rebuild a team in 5 seasons that we play. Every now and then we can squeeze in a 6th before we move over cycles. I don't want to add in the extra layer of like a bad coach and a bad team. It's like you're dead in the water for a full cycle. So I'm the DNA stuff, player DNA, quarterback DNA, coach DNA. I just don't know how it will or won't affect a CFM. I'm interested. I'm intrigued, especially with starting with brand new custom coaches. There's the whole new clothing and all that stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about coaching abilities in just a little bit, but how does that stuff work? How do you earn them? How do you gain them? How much of that translates from the NFL coaches that they're creating to a custom coach, and how people play, and how we can get sort of that same variety of coaches, even with custom coaches. The QB DNA, same thing. We all play human, so like how much of that QB DNA will play into that? There's 50 new player traits. I'm not a big abilities guy. Maniac knows that. I just feel like it makes the game feel very gimmicky. I just don't love it. And they went, okay, we'll one up you. We'll give you coach abilities too. I already don't love coaching trees. I understand the concept. I dig the concept. It's just in practice, especially in how we approach the game in a CFM with 32 owners. It just adds a bunch of layers into separation, fairness, ability to compete on the football field whenever we play. So I'm intrigued. There's 1,000 new plays. That intrigues me. How many of those are going to be broken like we've talked about here recently in our last season? It's got the auto motion. It automatically breaks the defense. Both teams are now stuck and trying to figure it out. It's just how much of that's going to work, how much of that's going to work well. I'm intrigued. I just don't know how much of that will affect the dynasty or the CFM.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm intrigued with it. I definitely think like the thing about the quarterback DNA that I'm looking forward to is because they say they're trying to replicate how each quarterback holds the football, how they throw their arm slot when they're slinging it down the field. I think they've like overhauled that really well from what they're posting and stuff. So that's one thing I think that a lot of players have asked for. They want quarterbacks and players to play more like the real life replica of or the real life player, like your replica in the game is trying to mimic. So to see how that's going to work, that's going to be interesting. And the fact that in the game that we have now, it only has like gunslinger 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they're all it's going to have like Josh Allen arm. Uh, this player's arm, Dak Prescott. His all that stuff like that. So um, that'll be interesting to see. And I think that's a positive in my book. If it plays out the way that I'm thinking, it'll be positive. But again, it also could be, a lot of this, things that we find that breaks the game, and hopefully not, but hope abounds, but with caution.
I'm a little bit more hopeful than some of my very tainted friends here, but it's okay. We all balance each other out. Check your emails. Just read a tweet a little while ago that said that the college football beta has been released. It doesn't seem like it is a just wide open release, but it has been released to a few. Maniac, have you gotten your hands on it?
No, I checked earlier. I didn't have one, so
That's not right. You're an ex Game changer. You got to get it, man. They got to send it to you. I'm going to lump up two together: wear and tear and new positions. I'm not too excited about new positions. We'll see how it plays. I just hope that the Taysom Hills, the Travis Hunters, those should be very rare exceptions that happen 3 times in a cycle. A 5, 6, 7, 8 year season. I'm considering that a cycle. I mean, some of you maniacs can get 10 of them in, but we're a 5 season cycle CFM, a lot of season there. But I'm interested to see how that works. It should be rare. It shouldn't be something that we're now seeing like every team has a Travis Hunter. Every team has Taysom Hill. Every team is drafting one of these players that can play both sides of the ball. But wear and tear coming over to Madden football gets a thumb up for me. I like wear and tear. I like the realism. I think you can balance that out with a little less long-term injuries, but then a little bit more wear and tear. So you sort of find that balance in a CFM. Well, I'm getting this Dynasty CFM thing all mixed in my head. Excites me. I've already talked about it, but anything there that you like?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I was already kind of having those thoughts to myself too. It's like, is everybody gonna? I mean, just picking on one of our residents in our dynasty, or see, now I'm getting it all confused now too. But
residence is a good word to use too. It's like a nut house in here.
Franchise, like is that a D Money gonna try to find Travis Hunter and put that into his system, every year, or is that what he's going to be looking for in a draft? And again, like you said, I think it's like it's a generational talent that comes along every once in a while that um, is a superstar like Travis Hunter has been in college, and they're kind of expecting him to be in the NFL as well. I do like that they say that the wear and tear of playing both ways mean you just can't throw any cornerback at receiver, or receiver at cornerback, expect the same results. So again, hopefully though, like in the drafts, they don't have like 1 or 2 of those guys every season coming out in the draft that we do, because then it's going to be like very heavy with those players across the league and stuff, and it may kind of get crazy. I am interested though, like with the long snappers and stuff like that. That is one thing that everybody cuts the long snapper and just puts whatever the highest rated offensive lineman is the long snapper and stuff. And now are we going to see bad snaps because of it? Maybe the snaps are not quick enough, and you could maybe possibly get blocked more because the snaps are not like
that would be
fast.
super cool.
Yeah, so is that something that they're implementing with that? Because they definitely name long snapper as a versatile gadget position. So is that something that they really making you think when you're putting your 53 man roster together? I got to keep a long snapper, because if I don't, I may get half my extra points or field goals blocked. Because the guy can't snap at 20 miles an hour or whatever. So. Anyway, so I think a lot of that stuff, again, hopes are high.
Yeah.
But eyebrows are raised with caution,
We're almost an hour deep. Let's see if we can get through a couple more of these before we talk a little maximum football. New weather. I dig it. I'm playing a dome, so it doesn't affect me for at least half my games, but it would be fun to watch, a playoff game, D-Money versus Maniac, AFC championship game, and D-Money thinks he's going to come in there and just steamroll another championship, and then he shows up and it is blizzard-like conditions and just completely changes how you have to play the team and how you build your team, and is your team built for that? Like, it's exciting. We'll see. We got to see how often it happens. We got to see who it affects, who it doesn't affect. There were some of those effects, and you got to benefit from them for most of the seasons, but like you couldn't kick a field goal in Buffalo. Like, And a little too high. I mean, we got to turn that down a little bit. So hopefully it's nothing crazy where it's like, oh, okay, like this is unplayable. And they say that we're going to have sliders on how much this stuff has power. So maybe we can even tweak it to fit what we're looking for. But it's another layer there that intrigues me, and we have to see exactly how it's executed.
Yeah, that was one thing. I think I played in one snow game. This
Really?
Madden. Yeah, and so that's something that happens a lot. Especially in Buffalo. There's as far as I can remember, every season there's always at least one or two games that is played in Buffalo where they're having to ask the community to come out and help clear the field off so they can play. So I thought that was kind of odd, but seeing this, it's obviously going to be a focal point. So I'm I'm sure that there's going to be more than what I had this Madden. So that I think again, like they did it correctly and it allow you to have sliders where you can adjust it a little bit, or whatever, tweak it to your liking for the franchise. And I think that's great. Also, I kind of chuckle at that. Think again about the chip shot field goals in heavy weather because we've had some guys that struggled with the field goals just without any of the
In a
home field stuff.
dome.
So yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that's implemented and how much a factor that is because it can definitely change the game plan. And again for the home team, obviously Cleveland, Buffalo. And I'm sure there's probably others, but those that come to mind right now. Like you've got to have a good run game and a good back that is able to carry the load and not fumble. And in those situations where hey, we got to give it to our back. A lot of times, just to control that. Compared to like say if a team is built like the greatest show on turf, like the
Yeah.
Rams back in the day, they come in that situation, and it's going to be an absolute cluster for them trying to implement their offensive game plan. So
It'll be interesting. I got a couple more here, and then we'll see if I've missed anything that you didn't want to talk about. Custom zones. Zones have been broken in Madden for quite some time. I don't find them as bad as everybody else because of the way that we set up our rules and the way that we play. But I've definitely seen some tough ones. As a board, we were discussing one that happened in the Commanders-Packers game here, 2 advances ago, or whatever it may have been, and it ended up becoming a piece of the puzzle that lost the Commanders the game. A player just like randomly went the wrong way, and again, I'm a little fine with some of that if it's tied to awareness, if it's tied to play rec, if it's tied to like attributes, but just to be broke for the sake of being broke, which is what most of this stuff happens, is weird. Custom zones, man, we just have to see. I hate what we have now is like a good starter set. I don't know that it ever really fully works. I hate when you're getting killed by those outside comeback routes or those corner routes. The post out route is coming to the long hash. And luckily for me, I can user safety most of the time, but if you're not a user safety, you're cooked. So it'll be nice to be able to set those zones manually. We'll see how it works to be able to try to take away something that someone's doing over and over and over again. And it just kind of makes me wish we still had Coach's Glass. I miss Coach's Glass to be able to look down. It's why I started manually recording what happened in my game. And I found lately I spend too much time trying to do that and focus. My old brain can't do it, but I miss the ability to be able to look at a screen and go, this dude's running 80% drags. All right, I need to attack him and change my zones to be within 5 yards, take those drags away, whatever it may be. But yeah, new zones coming. Could be something great, could be something completely broken.
Well, you talking about like trying to track that stuff. I mean, in the NFL, college, whatever, the head coach and those that are calling the plays or whatever on the sideline, they're not keeping track of that. They got somebody keeping track of that for them because your focus is on the game and trying to call the game or whatever. Not so. That would be awesome. That would be one thing I'd like to see them bring back. I never actually got to play it a whole lot because
Really?
my internet sucked so bad I could never
Yeah.
ever implement it. So, but now since I've got internet, that it's capable of running all that, I'm like, I would love to do that. So, um, kind of looking at the zones, I do think hopefully that is uh, something that works properly. I know they had uh, this game where you could custom stem the routes, and all of a sudden we found out that those were kind of bugged and didn't work properly and caused other issues and stuff, and so those kind of got banned. Is that going to be something else with the zones? Are they going to get you know something where that causes issues outside of what Madden already has? So if it's implemented and works properly, then that's awesome. Because I'm sure what the reason why those were brought in was to combat guys calling a 30-yard deep post route or whatever. It kind of helps man up those guys and get them in those areas to cover those properly. And maybe that is their fix for the custom stem routes. To actually give zones and defense the capability of covering those that were messed up logically in Madden terms from this last game.
I meant to say something else. I got sidetracked with the new weather that you were talking about. I don't want to yes to everything you said about custom zones. Intriguing. You got my attention. We'll see. I remember the days though where it was connected to the weather channel, and so you could literally go whatever the
Yep.
weather is today in this city. Give me that weather in the game. That was awesome. I'm like, why do we take that away? Like, bring it back.
That was really neat. Yeah, I remember that, and that gave you the kind of the feel of a little bit more of a home field,
Yeah.
in that situation. So
new week-to-week challenges. That's all they tell us. Who knows? I think a lot like recruiting, the training felt repetitive. How you built your player felt repetitive. I've watched plenty of videos about how there was, no matter how you played, there was one that would build the best team. And so if you did the research and you watched the videos or you did the research yourself and figured out what the one training ability that you should train every week, you're going to build the best team. I wish that was a little bit more sort of spread out, maybe random. I don't know the answer there, but week to week challenges, something to keep us engaged, because right now it's autopilot. I think scouting is autopilot, training is autopilot. Fleury found out real early in the cycle that if you do half pads and split reps and get gold in your focused training players, it's as if you simmed it. You get the bronze level. So it's like, well, I was playing this for no reason. I could have just simmed it and got the exact same attributes. So it's like, change those little things. Because if you didn't go split pads or split reps or whatever, your team was dead by the time you got to week 4. So week-to-week challenges, intriguing. We'll see.
yeah, and the other thing is too, you always got to pay attention if you're playing a Thursday night game and you do full pads, your guys are going to get hit tremendously.
You're cooked.
Yeah, first half they're slow as Christmas, so you're gonna probably be in a deep hole before the second half gets there. But yeah, they need to build off that. Again, like you said, all that stuff gets repetitive. You play it once, and then some of them, like the punting and kicking, will drive you insane.
Punting,
because it never works. It never made sense, but hopefully those things they implement properly and also expanded on it. Maybe if you practice with one thing the one week with, like, say, the quarterback target, well, you finish that for it's like a cool down. You can't do that when, again, for like 3 weeks you got to play the other quarterback.
Yeah.
So it kind of pushes you to kind of expand that instead of just like, oh, I can get easy goal with this every time, and
It's a good point.
Kind of makes you work for it a little bit more. So again, it's all how they implement it, but there is positivity, I think, from what we're reading and stuff. So I'm curious to see how they've done that, and maybe they can even add to it as the game progresses. Add
Yeah.
new uh, little side games where that you can play, that you can add or whatever.
I just had a thought as you were talking. I wonder if they will bring over these 50 new abilities or traits, as they call it. Like, is that the old college? Is that not the old college? Is that the college football stuff where players had like road dog or whatever? Had all these different sort of platinum, gold, bronze, silver abilities or traits that they had. Like, are they bringing that system over too? It's super intriguing. I'm going to lump a couple of these together. And then there's one I didn't talk about that I'll end with that I know you're passionate about. But trainers, intriguing. You got my attention. The ability to pay trainers to, again, how does that play into a CFM and how does that really affect what we do? I'm always looking for ways to make things strategic. So let's see how that plays out. Are there good trainers? Are there bad trainers? If you skip on a good trainer, how does that benefit your team? How does it hurt your team? If you go get the best trainer, how does that hurt your team? How does it benefit your team? So just interesting. Coach abilities, again, how does that work with, is it basically just new wording for the trees? Like, did the trees unlock abilities? Like, I don't know. By the time you get to week or year 5, like we're in, it's like everybody's got almost everything unlocked. I even made it pretty difficult this past year, and it's still, most people have almost everything unlocked. Coach gear, cool. Thanks. I mean, seems stupid. I'm not going to get crazy excited about finally allowing me to have more than 3 sets of clothes. New presentation. Sounds neat. Like Thursday night football broadcast, Sunday night football broadcast, Monday night football broadcast. I turn commentary off. So we'll see exactly how good or bad that may be. But the last one that I wanted to end on is something I know that you're passionate about. And then you can talk about all these as we start to wrap things up and talk about Maximum Football. But shows. And we're going to have some type of halftime show after game week recap. Like, how does that work with an online CFM? Because right now you can't even take a photo and upload it to a photo gallery like we could 3 Maddens ago. Like, so if I can't even do that anymore, how am I supposed to have a online CFM recap show? Is that only for offline CFMs? If so, it's just like, okay, you're just disappointing me. You're teasing me with stupid stuff. Again, a photo gallery that's missing. It's like, why? Why would you take anyway?
The photo gallery. I mean, that actually kind of like at least appeased the appetite for
it was something, right?
Shows, because you at least could view everybody's games through a photo. A few photos that they took. You can see like, oh, he scored. Catching the ball in the corner, getting 2 feet down, and just so it kind of gave you a little bit like a photogenic vision of what happened in that game if you weren't able to watch it through a stream or whatever. How they implement these halftime shows. I've been one that I've suggested that don't make it in the actual halftime. Put it inside the CFM because most of the guys, if not all the guys, when you're in the heat of battle playing competitive Madden, you're not going to want to sit there for 2 minutes or 3 minutes watching a halftime show as you're playing online versus another user. So, guys are button pushing, ready to go, ready to, because I'm either down 21, I'm ready to get this game over with, or I'm making my comeback, or I've already got 3 touchdown catches with my star wide receiver. I want to get another.
Unless while we're doing our halftime adjustments, that 30 seconds, you can squeeze like a highlight show from the game or from other local, like something in that like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And so it's going to have to be really short. And, I think guys could deal with that. But if it's anything longer, and I know like the ESPN, 2K thing where they had the, Chris Berman halftime show, that was pretty in depth. And, if you're playing, I mean, let's be honest, if you're playing by yourself most of the time, you watched it because you were engaged in an offline or a CFM to yourself. Um, so it was engaging and kept you active. So again, like you said, is it going to be something offline, online as well? But I do say, like, put that within the inside the CFM. So when guys, you load into the CFM, here's a screen playing. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars today, 21-14, and here's some clips from today's game. And it kind of shows it through, and then it plays the next game that. So to me, that would be like, oh, I would probably sit there and actually watch that whole thing, take it in, and like, oh, like, the Packers, Priest, he didn't throw an interception, he ran the ball,
We could do
50
commentary.
times.
We could do weekly highlights. Like there's so many more things we could do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that could be.
Priest did 2 of those, and I haven't seen one since.
I did a couple too, but I
That's right.
could
You
never.
started it. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Guys never would submit anything. So if it's already submitted within the game, guess what? These lazy bums don't have to submit it, and it's there and ready to go. And you grab them, take them from the game, and you can do your own like commentary for halftime, highlight shows or whatever, and just talk it, make content, make it more engaging. And I think just like the last little tidbit I talked about is like trainers. Is it going to be like there's only like 3 good trainers in the entire list? And so is again, I'm picking on D Money, but usually that's what happens. D Money gets the assistant coaches that has the +3 for speed and acceleration for his wide receiver. Is he going to be the one that grabs that trainer that has the +3 for strength and whatnot? Is it all going to be tied in? So there's a lot of things that's unknown, that's intriguing, that's kind of cool, that could be like is more likely somebody is going to try to abuse it. If it's over OP or whatever. So, but uh, the one thing we can say, it does look like these football games are uh, definitely progressing. They are actually introducing new things that could really make an impact on how we actually enjoy these games.
It looks like the Madden presentation is much better, thankfully.
Yeah.
From what I suppose college football has done, but you can see the price here, $69.99 for the regular one, which is it's crazy. I remember the $34.99 and the $39.99 days, and I remember being young and broke with kids, and like squeezing out $40 a year for this game was tough. Now this base game is $70. The MVP bundle. Let's see if it'll show a price.
I think it's 134.
There you go. You get both games. What we're trying to do here is not wanting to work properly. It's showing you all the kind of details, but it's not showing a price. I'm going with what he just said, 139 or whatever it may be, but you get both games, and it's probably the way I'll go again. I think it's probably the best value that you're going to get out of both of those. So give me some closing thoughts. Madden 26. What do you think?
Definitely a lot of stuff that, and again, like you said, I think they did a better job with their news presentation than college football, because you feel like you had to search really just to find any kind of news about college football. But I'm really intrigued about QB DNA, the throw positions of the quarterbacks, and all those things that incorporate coach DNA, like we've talked about, all that stuff. Is it OP? How many new plays are they putting in the playbooks? Are they true to kind of like your team style, and probably wear and tear and football weather? I think those they could play hand in hand. I think they listen them back to back on each other on that. So again, you're running in snow and mud. And, is the wear and tear going to be a lot more dynamic in that situation than just running on turf in a dome? And so there's a lot of things I think that could potentially really be exciting. And last but not least, the halftime shows, all the stuff that could really be engaging. If they really done it well, we could be looking at, you know, knock on wood, whatever, one of the best Maddens we've had in a long time.
I absolutely agree. And it could be terrible, but it could not be terrible. We'll see. Last one, Maximum Football is coming to PS5. We're playing their reveal trailer on the stream right now. Mr. Pooty T, who I need to get to come do a Grown Folks Live with me. Poor guy's been working every Friday for like ever. So there's all kinds of shooter news that he and I need to be talking about. Mr. Maniac, here's my football hockey guy, I guess now, and Pooty is sort of my shooter guy. So we got to bring Pooty on here and do some streams about that. But Maximum Football is coming to PS5. He's played this on PlayStation. This game is a long way away, right? Yes, it's pretty. It was built with Unreal Engine 5. It's gorgeous to look at. There's no license, so it sort of has all kinds of different rules. But the passing is pretty clunky. The running and player movement, pretty clunky, but they've been doing tons of updates. We try to retweet their stuff as often as we see it and get their stuff out there because it is another option. And so I think it was funny, me and Maniac had not talked, but yet we both had the exact same thought. This could be a fun coach-only league, just to have something different. Totally custom created teams, totally random, made up rosters, which is what Maximum Football is anyway, and just have fun in a coach-only league. It could be a fun way to play something different. This is going to be free to play. I don't know if, Maniac, you've had any experience with this game at all, because I know sometimes you'll dabble in a little PC gaming. I have not. I'm excited to get my hands on it. July, let's see it come up here again. Is it June 17th. Yeah. So we are like 10 days away or so, June 17th. Any thoughts about Maximum Football?
Yeah, I actually didn't get to play this, but I have followed them pretty closely on X and kept up with them. And in fact, one of the developers was part of the EA development team back whenever I was a game changer. And so we kind of have corresponded a little bit, not a whole lot, but we've made contact and stuff. And I told him I was very interested in playing, get my hands on this when it came into PlayStation, which at the time I didn't have a CPU that would run it, which now I probably do. But since it's this close, I'm just going to wait for the PlayStation version. But definitely intrigued with it. Like you said, it's definitely going to be clunky. I've seen some of the plays and stuff. But again, some of those games. I mean, guys play the Madden on the phone, the apps and stuff, and to me, those
guys still play
really,
2K.
Clunky too, So, but I'm really interested to see how the logic is in this game for as like players. I know one of the things that it always kind of turned me off with Madden Coach Only was either you watch the quarterback constantly scrambling around, or they throw the ball away, or they'd hand the ball off to the running back and he would run straight smack dab into the back of the offensive line and not go nowhere. And it just seemed like there was a lot of that, like no real logic to the CPUs doing that thing. So if this is something where the CPU logic is really playing, kind of true to an actual football game, and you may have a scrambling quarterback, but he's going to scramble around and try to get something open or whatever. That's kind of what I'm interested to see how this plays. And man, if it plays like that, I think this would be a beautiful coach mode only league, and maybe more eventually, more later on or whatever. But I think that's kind of the niche that, for me, would probably the niche early on would be a coach only league with this game.
My guy's using words like niche. I didn't score that high on my ACT, so I got to look that word up. No, I'm just joking. When it drops, I'll twist my guy's arm to take a break one night from college football or Madden or NHL or whatever else, and me and him will play a game or two, and I'll get him on video, and we'll do the whole thing. Maniac, let's wrap it up. Some final thoughts. We got college football, we got Madden, we got Maximum, lots of news dropping left and right. We'll have to do this a little bit more often, but thoughts, excitement, depression, what do we have?
Man, I'm optimistic and very cautiously excited about it. The more I've read, I think the more excitement I've gotten. Just because there's a part of me that's been so disappointed over the last few uh, games that I just kind of like, I, I don't want to put myself through it again because I've gotten excited about a couple games in the past. They started off pretty decent, and all of a sudden, just like the bottom falls out from underneath the game, and uh, you know, again like college football, the settings glitch. That was the biggest thing. Couldn't make custom conferences. You didn't have this. You didn't have that. It was kind of spoke like you were going to have it, but it wasn't really implementing it right, and it just made it a nightmare trying to run the league. And so, uh, but again, optimistic. I'm very optimistic right now, and very hopeful that these games are going to produce what they say. And I'm really interested in seeing this maximum football game. I like kind of low end type games. I always was a big fan of. I don't know if you remember Quarterback Club
Yeah.
on Super NES. I loved that game, man. I
I
played.
was a, I was an NFL yeah, NFL coach guy. I played that for the 2 years it came out.
Yeah, yeah, and I played that one as well. But these kind of lower, maybe under the radar games and stuff. Sometimes you can find some games that are really good, really put together well, that play really well. That may not have the beautifulness of like what we have with Madden and some of these other games and stuff. But a lot of love goes into these low end uh, productions or whatever, and they can be really fun little games on the side and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. But definitely the bread and butter is for the NCAA college football and for Madden. Um, and then hopefully we can continue to grow the hockey league too, because we've been having some fun with that as well. But definitely football is my first love, and always going to gravitate to that no matter what.
Give people a quick rundown of NHL. How can they grab it? What's it? What are y'all doing? How can they join?
Well, the last I've noticed the NHL, if you get EA Play, you can get the game for free. So I think EA Play is like $5.99 a month or whatever. So they have that available to grab. Which the new game for that's going to be coming out, I think, like in 3 months, 4 months, something like that. So uh, they'll be coming out with that game as well. But we have a club that the guys from the community we've all joined, the ones that are interested in playing. It's called Grown Folks Community. We're the Screaming Goats, and right now our uniforms are uh, done to kind of I guess commemorate the Houston Oilers old
Yeah, they
jerseys.
look good.
So they look really really cool. I know a lot of the guys, and we actually did. My son joined the community as well, and we did a live stream last night. We had by the time we ended, we had 120 viewers watching
It's awesome.
our live NHL games that we were playing. So it was really fun. Uh, it can, just like any other game, there can be times and moments where it gets aggravating, but it's who you play with and the guys that you're with and stuff that makes it a lot of fun. And it's one of those games where you can get 3, 4, 6 guys on at the same time, everybody playing on the same team, and it's really fun when you can win together like that.
Yeah, now that college football is done for me, I think we have a month or whatever it is before the new one drops. I might go try to grab it, but I know y'all. I know I am the death sentence from buying games. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with Maniac and I. Thank you, Maniac, for making time to do this. I wanted something to do after work. I'm going to go ahead and take a break as I get ready for my wife to get home tonight, and then hopefully play Kevin tonight if he can stay awake. I mean, he's got emphysema and what was the sleep one called? You just fall asleep, whatever that's called. That's how crazy I am. I can't even remember what those things are called. But he's got all kinds of problems. He's got no problems. He just can't stay awake. Jerk made me get up and had everything going for 30 minutes, and he's sound asleep. So hopefully we'll play Kevin tonight. I need to go get ready and get a couple more things done for Maniac, for all the board here in the OMFL, the Deuce, the OMFL College, all the grown folks shooters. Thank you for hanging out with us. Smash that like button. Details down in the Discord, details down in the description. Too many D's there, which is exactly what she said. I'm out. Peace.
Those.
Smash that like and subscribe.